I buried my daughter in the morning, and by evening, her husband was already throwing me out. He looked at me while her grave was still fresh and said, "This free ride is over." That was the day I lost my child and learned who my family really was. The day my daughter died, the world didn't stop. That was the first cruel lesson. Cars still passed by. People still laughed somewhere. The sky remained painfully blue, as if nothing had happened. But inside me, everything collapsed so completely that I didn't know how I was still standing. I remember sitting in the hospital hallway, staring at a vending machine that hummed quietly like it didn't understand grief. My hands were folded in my lap, but I couldn't feel them. I couldn't feel anything except the weight in my chest, pressing harder with every breath. The doctor spoke gently, too gently. "I'm sorry," he said. Those two words erased my future. My daughter, my only child, was gone. Not sick for years, not slowly fading. Gone in a moment so sudden that my mind refused to accept it. One minute I was her mother, worrying about dinner plans. The next, I was a woman without a child. People often say time slows down during tragedy. They're wrong. Time shatters. Moments blur together until nothing feels real. I remember screaming, but it sounded distant, like it came from someone else. I remember collapsing into a chair that felt colder than it should have. I remember thinking this had to be a mistake. She was supposed to outlive me. That's the rule of life. When I finally saw her, she looked peaceful, too peaceful. Her hands were cold when I touched them, and I pulled back instinctively, shocked by the temperature. "I'm here," I whispered, even though I knew she couldn't hear me. Her husband stood in the corner of the room. My son-in-law. He didn't cry. He didn't come near her. He checked his phone. At the time, I told myself everyone grieves differently. I refused to let doubt enter my heart on the worst day of my life. I clung to the idea that we were still family, that tragedy would bring us closer. I couldn't have been more wrong. The funeral came too quickly. Black clothes, white flowers, hollow condolences that blurred together until they meant nothing. People hugged me, whispered apologies, told me how strong I was. I wasn't strong. I was empty. I stood by her casket, touching the smooth wood, waiting for my legs to give out. Every step felt heavy, like gravity had doubled just for me. When it was over, when the dirt covered her forever, something inside me screamed. This wasn't how it was supposed to be. After the burial, people gathered at the house my daughter had once called home. The house I had helped her buy when she married. The house I had moved into quietly years later when my health declined. I lived there with them, not because I wanted to depend on anyone, but because family takes care of family. Or so I believed. Inside the house, food sat untouched. Conversations were awkward and forced. Grief hung thick in the air, but underneath it, something else was brewing. Something cold. That evening, after the last guest left, my son-in-law finally spoke to me properly. He didn't sit. He stood across the room like a landlord addressing a tenant. "This situation is going to change," he said. I blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" He crossed his arms. His face showed no sadness now, only irritation. "You can't stay here anymore," he said. "This free ride is over." The words didn't register at first. "Free ride? I just buried my daughter today," I whispered. He shrugged. "Exactly. And now it's time to move on." Then he said the words that still echo in my nightmares. "You have 2 weeks to leave." I felt the room spin. 2 weeks. No warning. No discussion. No compassion. Just eviction delivered at my daughter's funeral. I looked at him, waiting for him to say he was joking. He wasn't. That night, as I lay awake in the room that once belonged to my child, I realized something terrifying. I hadn't just lost my daughter. I had lost my home. And the man who promised to protect her had already erased me from his life. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in the house felt unfamiliar, even though I had lived there for years. The ticking clock on the wall was louder than usual, each second reminding me that time was now working against me. 2 weeks. That was all he had given me. I lay in my daughter's room, staring at the ceiling she had once painted herself, remembering how she laughed when the paint splashed onto her hair. The memory cut deeper than any insult. This was still her home, or at least, it used to be. The next morning, he acted as if nothing had happened. He made coffee. He checked his phone. He walked past me like I was already gone. I finally spoke. Where am I supposed to go? He didn't look up. That's not my problem. Those words settled into my chest like a stone. I realized then that grief hadn't softened him, it had freed him. Freed him from pretending. Freed him from obligation. Freed him from me. I spent the next few days moving through the house carefully, afraid to touch anything. Every object suddenly felt temporary. The couch where my daughter and I once watched movies. The kitchen table where she used to sit and talk about her dreams. Even the mug she loved, still sitting in the cabinet. All of it was being taken from me. Friends began calling. Distant relatives. People who had heard whispers of what was happening. I tried to downplay it, embarrassed by my situation. I'll figure something out, I said. But the truth was, I had nowhere to go. My savings were small. My health wasn't what it used to be. I had given everything to my daughter, believing family was my safety net. That net had vanished. One afternoon, while sorting through my things, I found a box of letters my daughter had written me over the years. Birthday cards, notes from school, messages she left on the fridge when she was younger. One note stopped me cold. Mom, no matter what happens, this will always be your home too. I broke down. For the first time since her funeral, I cried openly, uncontrollably, not just for her death, but for the betrayal that followed it. That evening, my son-in-law came home early. He noticed the boxes. Good, he said. You're taking this seriously. I looked at him, my eyes swollen, my hands shaking. She would never have done this to me, I said quietly. For a split second, something flickered across his face. Then it disappeared. She's gone, he replied. And this is my house now. That sentence changed something inside me. I stopped begging. I stopped explaining. I stopped apologizing for existing. If this was how he wanted it to end, then I would leave. But not broken, not invisible, and not without dignity. I began making calls, not asking for pity but for options. I contacted an old friend, then another. I looked into legal documents my daughter and I had once discussed but never finalized. And that's when I discovered something he didn't expect me to know. Something that would change everything. I hadn't planned to uncover anything. At that point, I was simply trying to survive. But grief has a strange way of sharpening your instincts. When everything is taken from you, you begin to notice the cracks people never thought you'd look into. It started with a folder, a thin, dusty folder tucked into the back of a cabinet in the study one my son-in-law rarely used. I wasn't snooping. I was searching for my daughter's old documents, birth certificates, insurance papers, memories I couldn't afford to lose. That's when I saw my name, typed, official, black ink. My hands began to shake. Inside were copies of documents I hadn't seen in years, papers my daughter and I had signed quietly after her marriage, when she insisted on making sure mom is always safe. At the time, I thought she was just being thoughtful. Now I realized she was being protective. The house wasn't entirely his. My daughter had never removed my name from the deed. Not fully. There it was, clear as day. A shared ownership clause. A legal safeguard that ensured I couldn't be evicted without due process, without consent, without a court. I sat down slowly, my knees weak. He didn't own me, and he didn't own the house the way he thought he did. For days, I said nothing. I moved quietly, watched carefully, observed the way he strutted around, already imagining his future one without me, without reminders of the woman he'd married and discarded emotionally long before she died. I noticed how quickly he had changed the locks on the garage, how he boxed up my daughter's belongings faster than I could process, how he avoided mentioning her name. Grief hadn't hardened him, it had exposed him. One night, while he was out, I sat at the dining table, the same table where my daughter once blew out birthday candles, and read through every page again. She had planned this. She had known. I remembered now how she used to ask casually, "If anything ever happened to me, you'd be okay, right?" I thought she meant emotionally. She meant legally. The realization crushed me and healed me at the same time. She hadn't abandoned me. She had protected me the only way she could. The next morning, I asked him calmly, "Have you spoken to a lawyer yet?" He smirked. "Why would I need to?" I met his eyes. "Because you can't legally throw me out." The room went silent. "What are you talking about?" He snapped. "I'm on the deed," I said softly. "You can check." His face drained of color. For the first time since the funeral, He looked nervous. "You're lying." "I'm not." He stormed out of the house, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. That was the moment the power shifted. But power doesn't mean peace. That night, he returned angry, different, louder, more aggressive. "You think this changes anything?" he shouted. "You think some paperwork scares me?" I stayed calm. "I think my daughter knew exactly who she married. That did it." His face twisted. "Don't talk about her like you knew her better than me." I stood up. "I raised her." He stepped closer, too close. For the first time, I felt afraid. Not just emotionally, physically. "You're not welcome here," he said through clenched teeth. "And you can't make me leave," I replied. Silence followed. Heavy, dangerous. I went to my room and locked the door that night. And that's when I understood something terrifying. Winning legally doesn't protect you from someone who has already decided you were an obstacle. From that moment on, I began documenting everything. His words, his tone, his threats. I started sleeping with my phone beside me. Because deep down, I knew this wasn't over. It was escalating. And soon, someone would cross a line that could never be undone. Fear doesn't arrive all at once. It seeps in slowly through slammed doors, through silence that feels too deliberate, through the way someone looks at you like you're already in their way. After the argument about the house, nothing was said out loud for days, but everything was loud. The tension lived in the walls, in the way he shut cabinets harder than necessary, in how he ignored me completely, as if erasing me would somehow make me disappear. I stopped using the kitchen unless he wasn't home. I kept my door locked at night. I memorized the sound of his footsteps. Grief had turned the house into a battlefield, and I was trapped in it with a man who no longer saw me as family, only as a problem that refused to solve itself. One evening, I overheard him on the phone. "I'll handle it," he said sharply. "She won't be here much longer." I froze in the hallway. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would give me away. That night, I slept fully dressed. Something was coming. It happened 3 days later. The argument started over nothing. A letter had arrived in the mail addressed to both of us. Legal paperwork. A notice regarding property records. He saw it first. When he confronted me, his voice was already raised. "You did this," he accused. "You're trying to take everything from me." "I'm not taking anything," I said calmly. "I just want to live in peace." "There is no peace with you here," he shouted. His face was red. His hands were shaking. I tried to step past him. He blocked my way. "You think you're smarter than me?" he sneered. "You think because you're old, you can manipulate things?" "I think my daughter wanted me safe," I replied quietly. That's when he lost control. He grabbed my arm. Hard. I gasped. "Let go," I said, my voice trembling. Instead, he shoved me backward. I hit the wall. Pain shot through my shoulder, sharp and immediate. In that moment, fear became real. This wasn't emotional anymore. This was physical. "Don't touch me," I said, raising my voice for the first time. He laughed, actually laughed. "Who's going to stop me?" he said. "Your daughter's gone." That sentence shattered something inside me. I pulled free and stumbled toward my room, my heart racing. He followed. I slammed the door and locked it just as he hit it with his fist. "Open the door!" he yelled. I stood there shaking, pressing my weight against it, praying the lock would hold. "Open it now!" I grabbed my phone with trembling hands. For a split second, I hesitated. Family problems aren't supposed to involve strangers. But then I remembered my daughter's voice. "Mom, promise me you'll protect yourself." I dialed 911. My voice barely worked. "I'm not safe," I whispered. "My son-in-law, he's trying to hurt me." The pounding on the door stopped. Silence followed. Heavy, terrifying. Then footsteps retreating. When the police arrived, the house felt suddenly too small, too exposed. He stood in the living room, arms crossed, playing calm. "She's confused," he said. "She's emotional." They looked at my arm. The red mark was already blooming purple. One officer met my eyes gently. "Ma'am," he said, "do you want to press charges?" I looked at the man my daughter had loved, the man who had promised to take care of her. "And now?" I nodded. "Yes." The look on his face, then shock, rage, disbelief was something I'll never forget. He was escorted out of the house that night. For the first time since my daughter's funeral, I slept without locking my door. But peace didn't come with sleep. because I knew this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of consequences. And consequences have a way of catching up to people when they least expect it. When the door closed behind him that night, the house didn't feel victorious. It felt quiet. Too quiet. I sat alone in the living room, wrapped in a blanket that still smelled faintly of my daughter's perfume. The police had left. The lights were dim. My arm throbbed where his fingers had bruised my skin, but the pain inside my chest was heavier. I kept thinking of her, how she would have hated this, how she would have cried if she'd known what her husband was capable of. And yet, how carefully she had protected me. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the windows. For the first time in weeks, the air felt lighter, but peace didn't last long. My phone rang. It was a lawyer. "I believe you should come in," she said gently. "There are documents your daughter prepared. You need to see them." That sentence made my heart stop. I arrived at the office trembling, clutching my purse like a lifeline. The lawyer slid a folder across the desk. "Your daughter updated her will 6 months before her death," she said. I froze. "She never told me," I whispered. "She didn't want to scare you," the lawyer replied. "But she was worried." Inside the folder were letters, handwritten, in my daughter's handwriting. The first one was addressed to me. "Mom, if you're reading this, something has gone wrong. I need you to know this first. None of this is your fault." My vision blurred. I've seen sides of him I didn't expect. I stayed longer than I should have because I believed love could fix it. But love doesn't fix control. My hands shook. "The house is protected. You are protected." I made sure of that. "If he ever tries to take away your home, know that I stood up for you quietly, but completely." I covered my mouth to keep from sobbing. Then the lawyer opened another document. "He doesn't know about this yet," she said. "But he will. The house, the accounts, the investments, they weren't his." My daughter had placed most of her assets in a trust, one that transferred full control to me in the event of her death. He had assumed everything was his. He was wrong. Within days, the legal process began. The restraining order became permanent. The court granted me exclusive rights to the house. And then came the moment I never expected. He showed up at my door. Not angry, not loud, broken. "I made a mistake," he said quietly, standing on the porch like a stranger. "I lost everything." I looked at him, really looked at him. The man who had once thrown me out. The man who had hurt me. The man my daughter had loved and escaped in the only way she could. "I know," I said. He swallowed. "Can you help me?" For a long moment, I said nothing. Then I shook my head. "No," I replied softly, "but I hope you learn." I closed the door. Not with anger, with finality. Months passed. The house changed. I painted the walls, opened the windows, planted flowers my daughter loved. Slowly, the space stopped feeling haunted and started feeling warm again. I joined a grief group. I volunteered. I learned how to live again, not as someone's burden, not as someone's shadow, but as a woman who survived betrayal, violence, and unimaginable loss. Sometimes at night, I sit by the window and talk to her. I tell her she was brave. I tell her she did enough. And I tell her I'm okay. Because I am. I lost my daughter, but I didn't lose myself. And the man who tried to erase me, he learned something he'll carry forever. You don't break a mother who was raised by love and protected by truth. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that strength can exist even in grief, please subscribe to this channel. More real-life family stories, emotional journeys, and powerful lessons are coming. You're not alone here, and your story matters too.